In relationships, control operates as an invisible force that shapes interactions and behaviors between partners. Control in relationships can be defined as an attempt by one partner to exert undue influence over the thoughts, feelings, or actions of the other. What makes control particularly challenging to identify is that it's not always obvious. Unlike healthy relationship dynamics where power is shared, controlling behaviors can be subtle and develop gradually. Control often operates subtly. It may be disguised as concern or protection. The influence typically increases gradually over time, and unfortunately, controlling behaviors are sometimes normalized in relationships. Control operates through power dynamics in relationships. These dynamics determine who speaks, whose needs get prioritized, and how decisions are made. Manipulation tactics are often employed to maintain these imbalanced dynamics. In the coming sections, we'll explore the psychological roots of controlling behavior, including insecurity, past trauma, and attachment styles. We'll also examine how these behaviors impact relationship health and how emotional regulation strategies can help address control issues. Recognizing control is the first step toward building healthier relationships. By understanding how control manifests, we can begin to address these patterns and create more balanced partnerships. Insecurity is one of the primary root causes of controlling behaviors in relationships. When individuals feel insecure about themselves, they often attempt to control their relationships to create a sense of safety. This insecurity can manifest in several ways that impact how people interact with their partners. These include fear of abandonment, feelings of inadequacy, constant comparison to others, and an excessive need for reassurance. Together, they create an anxiety cycle that can be difficult to break. When someone feels insecure, they often try to control their partner's behavior as a way to manage their own anxiety. Insecurity can lead to behaviors like checking a partner's phone, limiting their social interactions, making unfounded accusations, or demanding constant communication. These controlling behaviors can severely damage relationships by eroding trust, creating resentment, limiting growth, and potentially escalating to emotional abuse. Healthier approaches to managing insecurity include self-reflection, building independent self-esteem, communicating openly about feelings, and seeking professional support when needed. Understanding and addressing our own insecurities is the first crucial step toward breaking controlling patterns in relationships.
Attachment styles form early in childhood and significantly impact our adult relationships. Anxious attachment is one of four main styles, characterized by a deep fear of abandonment and need for constant reassurance. People with anxious attachment exhibit several key characteristics. They often have an intense fear of rejection or abandonment and are hypervigilant to their partner's actions. They typically struggle with low self-worth and have an excessive need for approval and reassurance. Trust issues are also common among anxiously attached individuals. At the core of anxious attachment is a profound fear of abandonment. This often stems from childhood experiences where caregivers were inconsistent in meeting emotional needs. Anxiously attached individuals often develop controlling behaviors as a way to manage their intense fear of abandonment. These behaviors are attempts to create security, but can ultimately damage relationships. Here are some examples of controlling behaviors that anxiously attached individuals might exhibit in relationships. They may engage in excessive texting and calling to check in on their partner and demand immediate responses to messages. They often question their partner's friendships, especially with people they perceive as threats. they continuously seek validation and reassurance about the relationship. In some cases, they may resort to emotional manipulation through guilt or jealousy to keep their partner close. Anxious attachment creates a self-reinforcing cycle. It begins with a fear of abandonment, which is triggered by perceived threats to the relationship. This leads to controlling behaviors as an attempt to reduce anxiety. These behaviors provide temporary relief from anxiety. However, they often cause partners to feel suffocated and pull away. This withdrawal confirms the anxiously attached person's fears, reinforcing the cycle. While anxious attachment patterns can be deeply ingrained, movement toward more secure attachment is possible. This involves developing self-awareness of attachment triggers and building self-esteem independent of relationships. Learning to self-soothe during periods of anxiety and practicing healthy communication instead of control are key steps. Working with a therapist who specializes in attachment issues can be particularly helpful for breaking these patterns.
Avoidant attachment is characterized by difficulty with emotional closeness and intimacy. This attachment style develops in childhood when caregivers are consistently emotionally unavailable or unresponsive to a child's needs. Individuals with avoidant attachment often display several key signs, including avoiding emotional closeness, feeling that partners are too clingy, and withdrawing to cope with stress. In relationships, avoidant individuals often use controlling behaviors as a defense mechanism. Avoidant individuals often control the relationship in subtle ways. They create emotional distance, use work or hobbies as excuses to limit time together, avoid discussions about emotions, and may dismiss their partner's emotional needs as excessive. Avoidant individuals employ various psychological defense mechanisms to maintain control and emotional distance. Defenses like denial, repression, and rationalization help them maintain control while avoiding emotional vulnerability. For someone with avoidant attachment, emotional intimacy is perceived as a threat to their independence and safety. When emotional intimacy feels threatening, avoidant individuals use control to reduce their perceived vulnerability. This creates a cycle of distance and disconnection in relationships. With awareness and effort, avoidant individuals can develop more secure attachment patterns. This includes recognizing avoidant behaviors, practicing emotional awareness, gradually increasing comfort with vulnerability, and finding a healthy balance between independence and connection. Understanding avoidant attachment helps us identify how control may be used as a strategy to avoid emotional intimacy in relationships. Financial control is a particularly powerful form of controlling behavior in relationships. It involves restricting a partner's access to money and financial resources. Financial abusers use various tactics to maintain control. These include preventing their partner from working, controlling all accounts, requiring them to ask for money, hiding financial information, and creating debt in their partner's name. Financial abuse is often part of a larger cycle of control and coercion. As this cycle continues, financial control strengthens, making it increasingly difficult for the victim to leave the relationship. Financial control severely limits a partner's independence and ability to leave an abusive relationship. Without access to financial resources, victims cannot secure housing, transportation, or support for themselves or their children. The statistics are alarming. 51% of survivors in shelters report financial abuse, and it's present in 99% of domestic violence cases. The average cost to leave an abuser can reach $30,000, and the financial impact can last for years afterward. There is a path to financial independence. Steps include documenting all financial information, securing identification documents, opening separate accounts when safe, building personal credit, and seeking help from financial advocates and resources like the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Dictating how someone looks is a subtle yet significant form of control in relationships. It manifests when one partner tries to determine how the other dresses, styles their hair, or presents themselves to the world. Control over appearance takes many forms. This includes criticizing clothing choices, demanding specific hairstyles, regulating makeup or grooming habits, and sometimes even insisting on certain body modifications. The psychological impact of having your appearance controlled is profound. It leads to a diminished sense of self, reduced autonomy, increased anxiety about one's appearance, and a gradual erosion of personal identity. Controlling partners often use specific manipulation tactics. They may disguise control as concern, make harmful comparative comments, use guilt or shame to enforce compliance, or threaten to withdraw affection if their preferences aren't followed. In healthy relationships, partners respect each other's personal choices about appearance. They offer opinions when asked, but don't impose them. This stands in stark contrast to controlling relationships where appearance becomes another avenue for exerting power. Reclaiming autonomy over your appearance is an important step. This includes recognizing your right to self-expression, setting clear boundaries about personal choices, seeking support from trusted friends, and reconnecting with your individual identity beyond the relationship. Remember, your appearance is a fundamental form of self-expression and a reflection of your identity. In a healthy relationship, this personal choice is respected, not controlled. Controlling behavior in relationships creates a pervasive climate of fear and anxiety that fundamentally alters the relationship dynamic. When subjected to controlling behavior, the brain's fear response is activated. The amygdala, our brain's threat detection system, triggers a cascade of physiological reactions, putting the body in a state of high alert. Controlling behavior typically follows a cyclical pattern. The abuser gains control, the victim feels increasingly trapped, and tensions eventually escalate to a crisis point, creating an ongoing cycle of fear and compliance. Fear in controlling relationships manifests in various ways: defensive behavior, emotional withdrawal, and a persistent sense of being trapped by emotional pain. Victims often describe feeling like they're walking on eggshells, constantly afraid of triggering their partner's negative reactions. The climate of fear created by controlling behavior has profound consequences. It prevents victims from asserting their needs due to fear of rejection, criticism, conflict, and leads to self-silencing. This same fear makes leaving the relationship extremely difficult, as victims worry about retaliation, may be financially dependent, face emotional manipulation, and often become isolated from potential support networks. The power and control wheel illustrates how different tactics work together to maintain control. At the core of all these tactics is fear, the central mechanism that maintains the power imbalance. Every controlling behavior, whether it's isolation, intimidation, or emotional abuse, relies on creating fear to be effective. Ultimately, fear in controlling relationships functions as both a tactic and an outcome. It becomes a powerful, invisible chain that keeps victims trapped in a state of compliance, unable to assert themselves or leave. Recognizing this dynamic is the first step toward breaking free from its grip. Healthy communication serves as the antidote to controlling behaviors in relationships. Open, honest, and respectful communication is essential for building trust and equality in relationships. The primary goal of healthy communication is to achieve an equal partnership where both voices are heard and respected. One key aspect of healthy communication is using I statements instead of you statements, which helps prevent blame and defensiveness. Developing key communication skills is essential for breaking patterns of control and building healthier interactions. Effective communication builds trust by creating transparency and a deeper understanding between partners. Healthy relationships include respectful disagreement. Learning to disagree without controlling behaviors is crucial. To summarize, healthy communication counteracts control by creating an equal partnership, using appropriate language, building trust, allowing respectful disagreement, and preventing power imbalances. Effective communication begins with active listening, which we'll explore next. Boundaries are the personal limits you set to protect your well-being, identity, and autonomy in a relationship. Boundaries are essential in relationships. They prevent controlling behaviors, help maintain your personal identity, build mutual respect, create emotional safety, and reduce resentment. There are many types of boundaries in relationships, including physical, emotional, verbal, time, work, spiritual, financial, and sexual boundaries. Each type of boundary protects different aspects of your well-being and autonomy in the relationship. It's important to recognize the difference between healthy, unhealthy, and abusive relationship dynamics. Healthy relationships respect boundaries, while unhealthy or abusive ones violate them. Setting healthy boundaries starts with identifying your needs and limits. Then communicate them clearly using I statements. Be consistent with your boundaries and remember to respect others' boundaries too. Boundary dynamics in relationships can vary widely. Healthy boundaries create space for individual growth while allowing for emotional connection. Finding this balance is key to a healthy relationship. Watch for warning signs that your boundaries are being violated. These include feeling guilty for having personal time, always prioritizing your partner's needs over your own, feeling unable to say no, having your decisions criticized, or feeling responsible for your partner's emotions. Healthy boundaries offer numerous benefits: increased self-esteem, deeper intimacy, better communication, reduced conflict, greater independence, and a more balanced relationship. Remember, healthy boundaries protect against controlling behaviors and create the space for love to flourish. Self-reflection is a powerful process for personal growth and understanding our behaviors in relationships. It involves examining our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to gain deeper insight into our patterns. Understanding our behavior patterns is essential for recognizing any controlling tendencies we might have in relationships. Ask yourself honest questions like, do I get upset when my partner makes decisions without me? Do I monitor their activities? Do I try to influence how they dress or behave? Self-awareness is the critical first step toward changing unhealthy patterns in our relationships. Journaling can be an effective tool for developing self-awareness. Writing down your thoughts and feelings helps you recognize patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. There are several effective methods for developing self-reflection skills. Mindfulness practices can help you observe your thoughts and behaviors without judgment, creating space for deeper understanding. Effective self-reflection practices include journaling regularly, practicing mindfulness meditation, seeking honest feedback from trusted people, and working with a professional when needed. Regular self-reflection offers numerous benefits for your relationships. Using structured self-reflection worksheets can help you track your progress and identify areas for growth in your relationships. The benefits include greater emotional intelligence, improved communication skills, more balanced power dynamics, and healthier approaches to resolving conflicts. To implement regular self-reflection in your life, start with these practical approaches. Begin with small, consistent practice. Be honest with yourself without being judgmental. Focus on observable behaviors rather than assumptions about others' motives. And remember to celebrate your growth and positive changes. Remember, self-reflection leads to self-awareness, which enables personal growth and healthier relationship dynamics. This ongoing process is key to breaking patterns of controlling behavior. Building equality in a relationship creates a foundation for lasting connection and mutual growth. A balanced relationship is one where both partners share equal power, respect each other's autonomy, and make decisions together. Let's examine the three fundamental pillars that support equality in relationships. The first pillar is equal power. In a balanced relationship, both partners have equal say in decisions that affect them, whether they're daily choices or major life decisions. The second pillar is mutual respect. This means valuing each other's opinions, feelings, and boundaries without dismissal or judgment. The third pillar is personal autonomy. Even in the closest relationships, each person maintains their individual identity, personal interests, and social connections. Research shows that equal relationships bring significant benefits to both partners. Equal partnerships lead to higher relationship satisfaction, better communication, fewer conflicts, and greater emotional well-being for both individuals. Building equality requires intentional effort. Here are practical steps to foster balance in your relationship. First, practice equal participation in household responsibilities. Second, make major decisions together, ensuring both voices are heard. Third, actively support each other's personal goals and growth. And fourth, communicate openly when you notice power imbalances developing. Remember, equality doesn't happen by accident. It requires awareness, intention, and ongoing effort from both partners. Throughout this journey, we've explored how control manifests in relationships and the invisible forces that drive these behaviors. Let's reflect on the key insights from our exploration. Control in relationships often stems from insecurity and past trauma. Different attachment styles can influence control patterns in our relationships. These can manifest as isolation, monitoring, financial control, and even dictating appearance. Recognizing these patterns is the critical first step toward change. To break the cycle of control, we must first understand that change is possible. By recognizing problematic patterns and committing to healthier relationship dynamics, we can create more equitable partnerships. Here are practical steps to break the cycle of control. First, develop self-awareness by recognizing controlling patterns. Take responsibility for your actions without blaming others. Practice healthy communication skills like active listening. Establish and respect boundaries in your relationships, and remember to seek support when you need it. Healthy partnerships are built on mutual respect and trust. They feature balanced power dynamics where both partners have a voice. Open and honest communication creates a foundation for understanding. Supporting individual growth allows both people to flourish, and sharing in decision-making ensures both partners feel valued. If you recognize controlling behaviors in your relationship, remember that help is available. Reach out to trusted friends or family members. Consider contacting a relationship counselor or therapist who specializes in this area. In serious situations, resources like the National Domestic Violence Hotline can provide immediate support and guidance. Remember, change is possible. Whether you're experiencing control or recognizing controlling behaviors in yourself, taking that first step toward change can transform your relationships. You deserve a healthy, equal partnership built on mutual respect and trust.